All right, my time says 11 Central, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today is the second webinar in our Midday Master Beef webinar series. Like I said, we are really striving for these to be right at the hour mark, so we will be very conscious of your time. We really appreciate you joining us in the middle of your day. Just a few housekeeping things before I introduce our speaker and we get started. I can get my screen to move. So like I said yesterday, but if you didn't join us, there are two boxes below the Q&A box. So if you have any content related questions or questions that you want asked to tonight's speaker, if you please put those in the Q&A box, Justin Reinhardt and I will both be monitoring those. If you have any questions about yesterday's webinar, survey links, anything like that, you can put in the chat box and I'll try to get those answered for you. So just remember Q&A box for speaker related questions that we can ask at the end. One more little housekeeping thing is the poll questions that we'll be utilizing during today's webinar. So you'll see these pop up on your screen. And again, if they don't pop up during the webinar, it's okay. These are just for interactions during the webinar. So you're not required to answer them. But you'll see these pop up and I'll give about 10 to 30 seconds, depending on how long it is to answer these questions and participate. So without further ado, I'll introduce today's speaker, which is Dr. Lou Strickland. Dr. Strickland is one of our own. He's our extension veterinarian at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. And today he's going to go over some very pertinent information coming up for the spring fly season and talk about some different strategies to mitigate the fly load on your herd. So I'll stop sharing and turn it over to you, Doc.
Okay, so I need to share my screen now, right? Okay.
Yep.
There we go.
Perfect.
Now we got it in presenter mode there.
Yep, you're great.
Some of the management issues that we have. All right, how am I going to stop that? There's one way to stop it, isn't it?
What you working on, Lou?
Next slide. Okay. All right, let's go. What we're going to do is kind of start going over, as Courtney said, we're going to have flies showing up soon. And so right now it's time to start paying attention to it. You can see here, Musca autumnalis going to be showing up soon. It's called face fly. Starts in March to early April. And golly, I saw somebody, I was coming across campus a while ago, and I was thinking, boy, if it was just a touch bit warmer, sure would be nice out, really nice out here, because it was pretty nice a while ago when I was out. And sure enough, somebody walks up and just casual conversation said, well, it's supposed to be in the mid 60s tomorrow. And I'm going, yeah, flies are going to start showing if it starts getting much warmer. I don't know that any of y'all have seen flies yet, but it's certainly possible. No colder than it's been. I realize we're kind of cold, but it hasn't been that cold yet. No hard freezes or anything. The female feeds on the cattle, and the male actually feeds on the plants. So I'm gonna tread some thin ice here, ladies. This is your fault. The female is the one that does the feeding and then deposits their eggs on fresh cow manure and then hatches within hours. So they're pretty prolific. It doesn't take long to do what they're going to do. And the adult stage is probably about 20 days when they hatch. So this doesn't take long. And here's just kind of real quick looking at this Musca autumnalis fly. You can kind of see this fly here. Small fly. It looks extremely similar to the house fly. And you notice the little arrow there. This fly has sponging mouth parts. There is some irritation to the eye once this fly starts feeding on the cow, but usually there's some sort of irritation on that eye to start with that causes tearing And then that fly picks up on that tearing. Then goes next cow. And of course, on those spongy mouth parts and those legs, it's got the bacteria. As I just said, related to the house fly. Courtney, I actually thought I had one of my questions in there. Was it not there?
Yeah, I think so. For some reason, the slide's not showing up, but I can go ahead and launch this and we'll see if anyone's actually reading your slides.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I just activated the first poll question. If you see it, the question is, what diseases or disease does the face fly spread? I'll give about 10 more seconds if you haven't answered. All right, here come your results. Can you see that?
Very good. I usually tell the students, if I ask you a question, look on the slide, most likely the answer is on the slide. Yeah, pink eye is the one that Musca autumnalis spreads. And the organism that's responsible for pink eye is Moraxella bovis and Moraxella bovaculi. So this is the one that is the main spread of the face fly. Something else here, notice, this is really important up top. We actually don't know how far Musca autumnalis or the face fly will travel, but it is closely related to the house fly. As a matter of fact, if you go look up some pictures of the two, you have to look closely at the pictures to see exactly what the difference is between them. So we know a house fly will go 2 to 3 miles. So that's our extrapolation of the Musca autumnalis, that it will go at least 2 to 3 miles looking for a meal. Here's another problem with the face fly. That face fly will come in, feed on this cow that you see right here for just a little while, and then boom, turn around, gone. It'll go somewhere else. That's why the chemicals have such an issue trying to control the face fly, because it's not hanging around long enough for the chemicals to actually be even able to do anything. And I know you're going, golly, from the smell of some of those fly tags, seems like it would, because we have students complain about the smell of those fly tags, especially if they stay in the truck for a little while. And they do have a stink to them. So you would think those flies would respond to that, but usually not. They'll feed there for just a little while, then they'll fly on down the road 2 to 3 miles. They'll feed on another cow. Then they'll fly on down the road 2 to 3 more miles, feed on another cow. Yeah, we're having technical difficulties there. Oh, there was my question. There we go. Okay. Was that my second question, or was that? Yes, question 2. So I guess it's time for you again, Courtney.
All right. Question 2 just launched. And the question is, which fly spends over 90% of its time on the cow? So I'll give about 30 seconds to answer that one. Okay, sharing results with you, Doug.
Okay, good. Most of you got there that it's the horn fly, and that is correct. And that's what the next slide is there. The horn fly. Like we just said, the face fly doesn't spend very much of its lifetime on the cow as far as on a single cow. And I guess I should correct, I could see where maybe somebody would have gone with that on the face fly. But the horn fly will spend the greatest part of its life on the cow. And it literally has biting mouth parts. I don't know if you've ever had one of these rascals get on you. They bite, and they're a blood feeder. over 90% of their lifespan is on the cow. They feed, and of course they're a big irritant, because these cows, especially if they're covered up with them, they're getting bit, and doggone, after a while, I'm more concerned about getting that dead blame fly off my back than I am about gaining weight. The eggs are laid exclusively in the manure patch. Plus they have to have a green manure pat to do it. So this is where manure control is extremely important. I don't know if I have it on another slide. I don't think I do, but this is where manure control gets a little complicated, because a 1,200 pound cow can make 75 pounds of manure a day. So now if you got 10 cows, now we're up into getting close to half ton or over half ton. So that's a lot of manure. And once again, after they've laid in that manure pat, they emerge in about 2-3 weeks. So they literally feed on the cow. They'll come off the cow just long enough to lay their eggs in the manure, then boom, they're right back on the cow. Now, I will say this, chemicals have a better chance of working here because that fly spends so much of its lifespan on the cow. So not so much with the face fly, because that face fly is only there just a short amount of time. And well, I'm bored. I'm going to go do something else. I'm going to go feed somewhere else. I'm tired of this cow, but not the face fly. Excuse me, the horn fly. The horn fly says, I'm going to feed, I'm going to lay eggs, I'm going to hop right back on the cow. And here is just showing you a picture of the horn fly. And you can see that basically a needle on the end of that fly's mouth, or is that fly's mouth part, literally stabs through the hide on that cow to be able to get that blood meal. Like I was just talking about, billions in losses to the cattle industry. They are painful. I will say this, the horn fly has been incriminated in spreading diseases such as BLV and potentially anaplasmosis. Can damage the hide because of, like I just said, they've got that needle, basically needle mouth part, where they can dig into the hide and tear the hide up. 12% decreases in average daily gain on those nursing calves. So there's much less energy for growth. Seemed like somebody, I read somewhere, you know, you can read all sorts of stuff, especially from those that just simply do not understand, but it was from someone that was not a cattle person, did not understand why we were so worried about these flies being on their back. Why did we want the flies off from them so, and why are we using so much chemicals? And then I started explaining to him, well, when the whole idea of a beef cattle farm is to raise pounds. We want that animal gaining as much weight as possible, quick as possible. And when you've got something like that digging a hole in your back, before long, you don't want to eat. You're just worried about getting that fly off your back because it hurts so bad. So that's where this horn fly is such an issue. Also, irritation right here. I realize this is the underside of the cow. I put this one up here because I always find this one to be a very unique lesion. The horn fly actually spends most of its time up around the cow's back and around its horns. This is one, this fly is called Stephanos filaria stilesi. And I know you've seen this on a cow's underbelly on the midline, where you see that big old scab where there's not any hair growing at all. And that's where that fly, you can see them, how they're piled up just in one spot. They're digging in, trying to get that meal. So they can cause issues as well. All right, the horse fly, that big banded fly, I know you've all seen them. People call them horse flies, but I call these cow flies because I tend to see them on cows much more than I do a horse. I don't know where that name came from, but they got named that. They have a biting mouth part as well. but it's not a needle type mouth part as the horn fly. This one literally has scissor mouth parts. Those mouth parts are very, very sharp, and they go in and cut the hide until that blood, till the animal starts bleeding, and then they'll feed off from that. Once again, this is the female, and she is the female does all the damage, and she actually can lay eggs off from one blood meal, up to 5,000 eggs just off one blood meal. So this fly is especially a problem in West Tennessee. I know y'all seen it in Central and East too, but this one is so much more of a problem in West Tennessee. Dr. Reinhardt sent me some pictures of producers out west that were having such an issue. There'd be 20 and 30 of these things on the back, on a cow's back. And of course, the cow was over in the pond or the creek or wherever it was, trying its best to get underwater to get these dead blame things off the back, because they were tearing that cow's back up so bad. And this is just where I'm showing you right here of those, that scissor mouth part, where you can see right here, where those squeeze together, they cut, they're kind of like razors, where they cut the skin to where it makes it start bleeding. And they'll feed off from that blood right there. The big problem with this tabanid fly is the chemicals don't work on them. The other chemicals that we have for the face fly, the horn fly, any other of the typical flies, does not work on these flies. They think organophosphates and pyrethroids are a perfume or an antiperspirant. They don't think a thing in the world about this stuff. So we've got to come up with some other controlled management to try to control these flies. They are extremely adaptive. All they need is a tree line to lay their eggs, and they're good to go. They don't need the manure pat. So this is a whole different beast. Okay, just some of the diseases that they can carry, especially those flies that are doing blood meals. Any of you have horses, you got friends with horses, it can spread EIA. But these are the big ones right here that you will see in the cattle world is anaplasmosis and BLV. We collected, or I should say, producer collected some of those flies out west and brought those to Dr. Reinhardt, and he eventually got them to me, and I took them over here and had them tested. And sure enough, you can find anaplasmosis on those biting mouth parts, especially on those big tabanid flies. So that's where there's so much of an issue there with them. And of course, bovine leukosis as well. And then reduced production like we talked about. All right, Courtney Lynn, question 3.
You know, the other thing is,
Okay. There's question 3. So I'll give about 30 seconds to answer that. All of the following statements concerning fly biology are true, except flies lay their larvae in old dry manure pats. So you're saying which one is not true?
I'm saying which one's not true.
Still got a few answers coming in. I'll give them a little more time, Doc. Okay, sharing results with you. There's your results, Doc. Can you see that?
Okay, very good. The majority of you realize that that they do not lay their eggs in old manure pats. Well, let's just go on to the slide here. Okay. To look at here, as far kind of covering face flies here. I don't know how this happened, y'all. I'm sorry. This also goes along with horn flies as well. They develop in freshly deposited cow manure.
Is it replaying your audio or something?
That you have available to control flies is manure management. That worked a while ago. No. Feed supply, tractor supply, co-op. Y'all, I don't know what's happening here. It's picked up an old. Hey, there we go. It's not playing. Or at least it's not sound going on. Okay, on the others there has to be a fresh green manure pile for those flies to lay their larvae in. It cannot be a dry manure pet. And that's what's important about manure control, is that you can go out with a four-wheeler with a piece of chain link fence behind it and just ride around out the pasture and drag the pasture. That way it dries the manure out and they have nowhere to go. They lay their larvae in those manure pats and they hatch pretty quick. And they literally lay those larvae in that manure just as quick as it's deposited. And then that fly larvae hatches out in about 3 weeks. This next one here that we've got here is these are classes of chemicals that you get when you go to whatever feed supply or online or whatever you get. You're going to get an organophosphate of pyrethroid. Spinosyn is a fairly new one. Avermectins, they're starting to put those into ear tags. Forget Tolfenpro. I doubt that's ever coming back from the train wreck that happened with that one there. And then IGRs. Let me mention this one real quick. I brought this up in a meeting the other night, and I decided I might better go back and read exactly what's going on. We got some emails here in the department not too long ago, and the talk was about pyrethroids not being available any longer. Well, what I did is I went back and read the proposal a little quicker, a little closer, instead of quicker. I read it too quick the first time and didn't pay attention. Pyrethroids are still going to be available. It's just not going to be available in some of the application methods that you may have been used to in the past. Whether that, it might be in a spray can or maybe even all those CO2 guns with the pellets in them. Some of that may not be available in the future, but pyrethroids will still be available. It's not going away. So when I first saw it, I went, oh man, they're trying to take something else away from us. But no, they're not. We still have pyrethroids. You'll just have to put it on in different methods. But we don't have a final on that yet as far as that goes. Let's look at this one right here, the insect growth regulators. Golly. I apologize for this, guys. I don't know what's going on there. All right. IGRs, insect growth regulators, not an insecticide. So it will not cause resistance. This interrupts or inhibits the life cycle of a pest. And it can't reach adulthood. And I've got a slide beyond this one kind of telling what goes on, but the animal consumes it, shedding the manure, then the flies lay the larvae in the manure, and it can't make it to an adult fly. They're not capable of reproducing. And the way that works is here is this is a larvicide, diflubenzuron. It inhibits the deposition of chitin. Chitin is important for them to be able to build their exoskeleton. There's an endoskeleton, which will be us. We have the skeleton, interior skeleton. But on flies, other insects, that kind of thing, they have an exoskeleton. The exoskeleton is what supports their legs and supports their wings, head, whatever else. So what that does, that diflubenzuron will basically cause that exoskeleton to not be able to form. So basically they die before they ever become an adult to begin with. And so you can see right here, here's your typical fly right here. And this would be the exoskeleton right here, that hard shell right here where the wings are, where the legs attach, abdomen attaches, that type thing. That cannot form like it's supposed to. So they're never able to reach adulthood. Now, if it was me, I would start putting this out here in about 2-3 weeks. It'll be March before you can turn around, because February always goes fast. Here we're on the 10th day of February already, and I'm still going in it, still January. So I would consider starting to feed this next month, feed it throughout the entire summer, and then remove it probably around November. Maybe October if we have a cooler October, something like that. We usually don't though. October is still usually warm enough to keep these guys around. So feed it at least through the end of fly season. Okay, ear tags. Sorry. Okay, ear tags. They claim to last for about 5 months. I usually like to put these on when there's greater than 50 flies per side, or about, kind of looking at it where there's about 100 to 200 flies on there. And you can see this old boy right here has got a pretty good bit of flies on him. And it should last for about 12 to 15 weeks. And this is one, I recommend not putting them in too early. I see a lot of guys putting them in March. I just think it's too early. I like to wait till just a little bit longer to put them in. Okay. Question 4.
All right. You should see question 4 now. The question is, the best way to prevent insect resistance to chemicals is to mix classes of chemicals together in one season. True or false?
Gave y'all a slow pitch softball.
Maybe about 10 more seconds if you haven't got the answer. Looks like most people have. Okay, Doc. Shared results.
Okay, for the majority of you figured that out, but no, just real quick, we're going to look at there we go, right here. Let's look at some resistance just real quick. I have several that run into this, so this is something that's important to pay attention to, because I'll have producers that will send me emails. Doc, I'm rotating my chemicals exactly like I've been told to prevent resistance. And what they're doing is they're mixing several classes of chemicals together in one season. While that might get rid of a majority of flies, that is an excellent way to create resistance. Okay, early in the season, I'm going to use a back rub or a topical in the IGRs early, as in the IGRs next month. And then I'm going to start adding in the back rubs topical when I start seeing some flies. And then I'm going to use those fly tags in heavy infestation like we looked at a while ago, where we're seeing 100, 200 flies on those cows. And I'm going to use one class of drug in everything for 1 to 2 years. So in my pour-ons, my sprays, my fly tags, I'm going to use a pyrethroid in everything for at least 1 to 2 years. Then I'm going to swap to an organophosphate, and I'm going to use that in everything. That's going to be in my back rubs, in my sprays, in my ear tags. Work with your county agent, your county agent. They should be able to help you with this, or wherever you're purchasing those products from, to make sure that you're buying the same class of chemicals and not mixing them up. That is a perfect way to create resistance. If you kill off every fly insect that is susceptible, all you have left is resistance. Then they're going to start breeding together, and then all you have is resistance. So just make sure you're using those chemicals properly during one season and rotating. If you're not sure, call your county agent. Call me. I know flies are awful. I hear it every year. Some of y'all probably even have said it to me. Doc, flies are worse this year than I've ever seen them. Well, golly bum, they must be getting really, really, really bad, because I hear somebody say that every year. If they're getting worse every year, they must sure enough be bad. Keep records of resistance in the area. You might want to touch base with your county agent. Hey, we saw this last year. So we might want to try a different one this year as opposed to what was tried last year. And then, of course, removing tags at the end of the season. That's extremely important. Those fly tags work by leaching out the chemical. And if it leaches down too low, all you're doing is making the fly mad. You're not getting rid of them. Okay. Always read and follow label directions. Make my veterinary students raise their hand and swear that before they use any medication, they will read the label, draw up that medication, and then read the label again before they give it. Same here. Read that label direction. Just because you saw somebody do it one way doesn't mean you do it the same way, or you fill that cup all the way up and then pour it down their back. Look to see how much is supposed to go in there. Make sure you're using the proper amount. If you're overusing that medication, you're causing resistance. Plus, it's the same as wadding up that dollar bill and throwing it in the trash can. And I know, because I've been in the business, y'all ain't making that much money that you can just wad up dollar bills and throw them away. Maybe you are. If you are, I want you to tell me how you do it, because I never was able to. So always wearing gloves when you're applying these products. I realize we think we're tough. Doc, I don't need no gloves. Yeah, you do. This stuff works on you like it does on that insect. You can get deathly ill from this stuff. I had one producer one night talking about this, and he raised his hand and said, Doc, I know what you're talking about. I didn't think I needed to wear gloves. I spilled it on me, didn't wash it off, and I was in the emergency room later. Wear gloves. Paying attention to withdrawal periods, and then just keep up with when you treated them, lot numbers, those kind of things. Easy, low-hanging fruit. Here is a website that will help you to make decisions based upon what you're doing. Here's the website right here, www.veterinaryentomology.org. It doesn't cost you anything to use this website. You can go in and you can find the pest. I'm going to say face fly, Musca autumnalis. I'm pretty sure it uses the common name. I don't think you have to know the scientific name. You find your pest, and then you click on the species that you're wanting to control that pest in. Beef cow. You click on that, and then it will give you a list of pesticides that you can use and how that pesticide is used. This is a pretty doggone handy website. Once again, you can use it in other species too. Horses, goats, sheep. It's pretty handy. Put this one to use. This is a website that's out there and is really helpful. It also you can, if you're looking for a pasture treatment, if I'm not mistaken, it shows you how you can apply this in the pasture if that pesticide is labeled for pasture use. So there's several different things you can do with this website. This one's really, really handy. Put it to use, guys. Don't waste this information right here. If you don't get anything else today, get this slide right here. And I'm more than happy to send this presentation to whoever if you want it. It's not mine, it's yours. I put it together for y'all. Okay, now, when Dr. Reinhardt sent me those pictures, of those cows with all those tabanid flies on the back of those cows. I started doing a little research, and of course, that's where I actually thought that the chemicals worked on those things, but as I do a little research, I guess it's the things that you thought you knew are the things that are dangerous. I started doing a little research, and that's when I found the chemicals do not work on those tabanid flies. So I'm kind of going, all right, what's an alternative that we can do here? All right, this is a deal. Australia, they have a buffalo fly. And that buffalo fly is extremely resistant to chemicals too. So they had to come up with something. Go on this website right here on YouTube, Buffalo Fly Trap, and watch that video. You can see here it's just a plastic. I guarantee you, y'all have ingenuity enough to build one of these things. It's just plastic covering over a frame. They walk through it. And on the other end, it's kind of like fingers in a car wash. As the cow walks in, the fly gets confused by the plastic, the light coming through the plastic up top. They fly up into the plastic, get trapped, and then the sun cooks them. If that's not enough, the fingers as they walk out mechanically wipes the fly off the cow. Now, it'll tell you, you got to train them to use this thing. But you can see right here, there's not anybody pushing these cows through this to use it. After a while, they learn to use it. Real similar to those cows climbing in the creek, trying to get those flies off their back. They know getting in that water can get the flies off their back. Well, right here, they know that walking through this contraption right here gets fly off their back, and they'll use it. You could also use this, maybe going into a watering source where the minerals are, that type deal. So just go and watch this. It's pretty cool. If I'm not mistaken, there's some plans. I think you can go on their website. Golly, I can't remember the website now. I probably should have put that up there for some plans, but I guarantee you can look at that and probably build one yourself. I think Missouri Extension has some plans on kind of a walkthrough fly trap as well. So that's a couple of places where you can look, but this is something I think we need to consider, seeing as how we have so much resistance in our flies. And like y'all tell me, Doc, I've seen flies worse than I've ever seen them before. Here you go. Start using this, because if the chemicals ain't working, we got to do something else. Okay. And this is another one. Here's another one right here. Have guys constantly saying, Doc, I do everything, my neighbor does nothing. Plus, golly, sorry. Oh yeah. Plus, you've got these face flies that are traveling 2-3 miles, 4 miles looking for a meal. I actually ran across this, and if you watch this video right here, you'll see it's a organic farmer that can't use any kind of chemicals. What he did is he just took one of those 55-gallon drums. The chemicals come in, you can buy these. He took the top off. You can see right there where his hand is, he cut a square hole and put a piece of plexiglass there, mounted a piece of plexiglass. Then in the sides, this is awesome. This is right out of Alabama Redneck here. He mounted some PVC elbows in the side, and you can see where they have turn downs. And that's really, really similar to a fish trap, where they swim in and they can't figure out how to get back out. Plus, you hang something nasty in there. That's to get it started, an old rotten piece of meat or something. Well, they'll start coming in. And then after a while, it's self-perpetuating, because those flies come in, they start dying, it stinks. Those other flies come along. Also, another one that I have seen, you can find it too on YouTube. It should come up when you search that 55-gallon barrel fly trap. What he did is he actually mounted some sticky strips on the side to catch even more flies. So just mounting these out here in the pasture somewhere, especially maybe on the fence line, to where if you've got, flies traveling somewhere, to go to somebody else's farm, well, hey, here's a truck stop. Let's stop here and see what the smell is all about. And next thing you know, they're trapped and they're dying inside that barrel. So this is something else that you could potentially try. And it's certainly not going to cost you a lot of money. That's cheap. The guys that I've talked to a couple of people who've used these. And of course, you can see on that picture there on the right, look at all those flies in there. They work. They feel like they do a pretty good job. It's certainly reducing the population of flies. Right here, parasitic wasp. I had somebody bring this up at the meeting the other night. Maybe especially if you're those that are organic or maybe thinking going organic to meet a certain niche market. You can't use any kind of chemicals. What you do with these parasitic wasps is you identify a problem area there on the farm. And that would be where cows like to gather, underneath shade trees, around the mineral feeder, around the watering hole. And then you can basically transplant these parasitic wasps there. Manure control would be something else you could do to, remove that manure, because they say identify those areas, you then transplant these wasps. And it sounds like you buy them in a pack, you literally just pour them out in that area there. And then you can optimize those efforts by manure control, removing the manure, and then reseeding every 14 days. So this is just another, if you feel like nothing else is working. Also, dung beetles, there's a lot of question on whether our dewormers are interfering with our dung beetles. I've read some articles that say no, it doesn't. Other articles say yeah, it does. So that's where I would really need to talk to maybe a drug rep. And I realize they're trying to sell stuff. They're going to tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread. It doesn't bother the dung beetles. But that's another thought process is dung beetles, because they'll interfere with that larva too. They'll eat that larva inside the manure pet. That's all I've got there. So, like I just said, that's all I got there. That's all I have on that as far as the presentation goes. So let me just stop sharing.
Justin, I'll say real quick before you get into questions, I found that entomology website that you were talking about, Doc. So I put the link in the follow-up email that y'all will receive tomorrow, 24 hours after this webinar ends. So tomorrow about 12 Central, you'll get a follow-up email, and I have that link, a link for Dr. Lou's Ask Dr. Lou, where you can ask him any additional questions that you don't get to ask today. And then I found some plans for the buffalo fly trap. So I put that in the email too. So
cool. Thanks,
if you needed those links, you'll get them tomorrow.
Cool. And like Courtney said, I've got that website there, askdrlou.tennessee.edu, where you go. Golly, I'm too shy to ask a question today. I don't want to ask it in front of everybody, or a couple of days down the road. Oh yeah, what about this? You can send me a question through that email. I'll email you back.
All right, Doc, that's good stuff. Appreciate you leaving some time, a good amount of time. This is great for questions. And I'll just kind of fall right in with one of the last comments you made. I think you're talking about the parasitic wasp effect on dung beetles. I had a question come in while you're talking about IGRs and whether or not those are specific to flies, or can they also be negative, have negative impact on beneficial insects like a dung beetle. So IGR.
Yeah, what I understand from everything that I read, the label and what they're trying to control, I understand that how that happens, I don't know. Folks smarter than me made these larvicides and that type of thing. I understand it's aimed just at the fly.
Okay, I'll need to modify what I typed in a little bit then, because I'd mentioned that I didn't think that they were, exactly specific to flies, but that the timing and concentration, that kind of stuff, is designed to just be pinpointed for flies. It may be that the molecule is actually tailored for fly insect or fly growth regulation back.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, on fly tags, and this is something I've thought about and never really researched into, but the question is, when you put a fly tag on, how does that get, across the rest of the animal, full coverage across the face and the back and stuff? How does that chemical in the fly tag affect other than just where it is? Is it like a pour on and it moves across the skin, or is it just
It's not nearly as effective as a pour on. The fly tag is aimed more for just the head and around the pole, because of the okay, of course the cows flopping their ears, moving their ears around. Like I just said, I know you have. You've opened up those fly tags and you used them without gloves, and I guarantee you got some of it on your skin. You see that oil that was on your skin? That's what that does. That oil, as she flips her ears around, as she moves her ears or rubs up against a tree or something of that nature, spreads that oil on her skin. And probably going to be more specific around the head. I doubt seriously if it's going to go much further back than her pole.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking, and just reading the question again, it asks how it gets in their system, but it doesn't actually get into the circulatory system or anything. It's just affecting the
correct
where it contacts or maybe the air right around it.
Yeah. Even the pour-ons, they're only supposed to go sub-Q deep. They don't necessarily go systemically wide. They're only supposed to say sub-Q. They don't necessarily get much deeper than sub-Q.
And the carriers that they're in are designed to.
Correct. The carrier, exactly.
You're good. Had a good question here, and I'll tell you what the way I answered it typing in, but that I would ask you too. But opinion on feeding cinnamon and garlic and mineral for fly control. So I've seen I haven't read through the research very much myself. I've seen some producers that did kind of side-by-side comparisons of it and seemed to get good control in some years. I've talked to people.
I lost you, Justin.
Oh, am I still here?
There you go. There you are.
So talking about cinnamon and garlic and mineral for fly control, I've seen it areas where it looked like it worked really well. And I've talked to some people that I trust on this, and they say it does work fairly well. Just wanted to get your opinion on the cinnamon and garlic.
I've not had any formal training on homeopathic type stuff, but I've actually found it's not just sure enough peer-reviewed articles on cinnamon and garlic, but there is some pretty good thought that cinnamon and garlic does have some fly repelling abilities. What that is, I don't know. I would put a lot more trust in that than what I heard up in Greene County one night, is soaking your salt blocks in diesel fuel. That one does not work. And also sulfur blocks. I get that question all the time too. Do sulfur blocks keep flies off cows? I cannot find a peer-reviewed paper anywhere that says it doesn't. So that one is just literally, hey, I think it does it. I don't think there's anything substantial to a sulfur block keeping flies off cows.
When you're talking about the buffalo fly traps, Joseph Davidson put a really good comment in here, said that they make those and they make them out of electrical conduit instead of PVC, since the electrical conduit is UV resistant. It'll just last longer.
Okay, cool.
I
so I got somebody's tried one. Is that what I'm hearing?
I said they build them all the time. So
cool.
Yeah, it's positive.
I like it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it's something we're gonna have to go to with all these with our chemical resistance. I think we're gonna have to go something like that.
Yeah, that and regulatory approaches on chemicals. That's I'd start looking at some of that other stuff. Here's one that I haven't seen yet. It came in while we were just talking. So I'll just read it. Been using back rubbers for several years. without measurable success, maybe with measurable success, but I'm aware of only one type of chemical. What chemicals are available for back rubbers?
I always have to look myself. Because I don't know. I have, like I said, you read the label. I always have to read the label to see which one is, it is designed for this. It's not designed for that. If you don't use it the way it's designed, it's not going to work very well, and the company's not going to back you up. So I always have to look to see what's a pour on, what can be mixed up into a carrier and poured onto a back rub, and what can be sprayed with your hand sprayer down the back. And like I said, with some of these new regulations coming up, they're not taking pyrethroids away. We're just going to probably have to rely on different methods of getting them on the cows. Because the biggest thing that I gleaned out of that when I read it, because I was thinking, well, that'd be good for today. But after I read it, I said, okay, good. They're not taking the pyrethroids away. What they are taking away is aerosol cans, other methods that may potentially spray onto you. I think that was the biggest concern there, was operators getting it on themselves. Misters, certain type of misters, they're going to take that away. So you just have to pay attention to the way they tell you to use it on the label.
Yeah. It seems like anything I've ever used on a back rubber was pyrethroid, a pyrethroid product. I can't remember ever using an organophosphate or anything on it.
I can help y'all real quick as far as when you go in to buy these products. Pyrethroid's usually pretty straightforward. It'll either say pyrethrin or pyrethroid on the active ingredient. When you go in and you're looking for an organophosphate, the name will be about that long. It'll stretch almost all the way across the label and then start again. Organophosphates have really, really, really long names. And sometimes somebody will send me a label and I say, hold on, let me go look that up. Your county agent or whoever is the manager of the feed store should be able to help you with that. And I know that for a fact because I've had to go to feed stores and do trainings on what's an organophosphate and what's an organophosphate and what's a pyrethroid.
Yeah.
And how to use them.
So last one here as we wrap up, had somebody was talking about, they've got farms that border them on both sides. They feed fly blocks to IGRs, I assume, but their neighbors don't. I typed in that you might get some reduction because your immediate area, but it's going to be nothing like if it was just your place and you're feeding everything IGR. I mean, because the flies will be able to lay eggs in the neighbors and they'll still, they'll hatch out come over here.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way I answer that one too, Justin, is I'll get that. And it's a challenge because those flies that are over there, they're still going to be able to populate all they want to. You may get a very, very local effect. And that's where, in my mind, I'm thinking the fly traps will be good. If you're going to build those place those 55-gallon drums, maybe in just some strategic areas through the pasture or along the fence lines to maybe catch some of those rascals that are traveling. Now, horn flies are not going to travel. They're going to stick around your cows. They're not going to go over to Justin's to look for something to eat. They're going to hang around at Lou's place. Those face flies are the ones that are going to travel from Lou's place to Justin's place to Courtney's place to Kevin's place. They're going to keep moving.
And so that answers the question the way it was asked. Actually, I didn't ask it the way it was written, but they say, am I just throwing those dollars away? So you're not necessarily throwing them away because there are some
correct
that you'll control, but it won't be near like, if it was all your place.
Correct.
And I got it.
Yeah.
Good deal. I had in my mind something I was just getting ready to, we have talked about recently. I know Becky Trout-Frixel has done some work on surveying producers in other states and Tennessee about selecting for genetic fly resistance. You may have mentioned that in the talk and I missed it or something, but it's just one of those things where you can probably identify if you're with your cows a lot, you'll see some that either seem to not be bothered by it or, don't have as many on them, those kinds of things. So that's something to think about. Of course, I always try to spin everything back around the repro, and I know you do too. But if you cull the open cows, you'll find the ones that fit the way you're managing them, right?
You're right. You'll pretty much get rid of those problem cows. You sure will.
I just had to be a little bit selfish and pull it all back to repro. So with that, we've got just a couple minutes left. If there's anything else you want to say, or Courtney, if there's anything you need to talk about for the next week's webinar.
All good on my end. Next week on Tuesday, we start with Dr. Katie Mason talking about some mineral nutrition. So should be another good week.
Hey, they're right there. Here you go. There's another good point to bring up right there. Excuse me. Nutrition. If you got good nutrition, they'll have a better immune system. Will help kind of fight off any of those diseases right there. Also, that good nutrition will probably help with some fly control, that kind of thing.
Yep. Good stuff, Doc. Appreciate you being on and knocking out a swath of these trainings today. And I guess we'll see you down the road somewhere.
All righty. I've got to go talk to a bunch of students who want to be vet students. So I'm going to try to talk them out of it.
All right.
All righty. Thanks,
Good.
guys.
Bye. Everyone have a good rest of your day.